Still making their way back. You know, a chef has a curriculum vitae that is impressive when I have to have notes. So here we go. Let me tell you about Fort Worth native Chef Jon Bonnell, graduate of Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, and also the New England Culinary Institute, also in Nashville, Tennessee, if I remember correctly. That is a joke.
Vermont.
By the way. Vermont. We get those two confused. He opened his flagship restaurant. Towels, that's Bonnell's Fine Texas Cuisine back in 2001. He earned the highest Zagat food rating in the entire state of Texas. He is it. That is it. The highest.
Thank you.
His sports bar, Buffalo Brothers, one of the top 10 sports bars in the entire United States. That's pretty good. Newest seafood place is called Waters. Has the second highest food score for Zagat in the entire Metroplex. It's that good. Trust me, we've been there. And it's about to celebrate its third anniversary over at Waters. Chef Bonnell has 3 cookbooks, produces an entire line of spice blends, and like Justin Wilson needed to be bettered, he does 7 wines as well as part of his line of products. In addition to cooking, he's a husband, a father of 2, and an Ironman triathlete.
What?
Believe that. Fantastic.
It's a true story.
Just finished up one in Kona, Hawaii back in October, I see here. He's also the celebrity chef over at Amon G. Carter Stadium at TCU. Go Frogs.
We got Frog fans out there?
A few of you?
Both of you?
You've seen him on the Today Show. Let's see. Good Morning America, the CBS Early Show, the Discovery Channel, Nightline, the Food Network, and the very special Christmas episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Would you please welcome Chef Jon Bonnell?
What's going on, ZestFesters? How's everybody doing out there? All that stuff was true, except the Kardashian part. I never met any of those. I was asked one time if you had to choose between saving Kim or Kanye and they were both drowning, you only had time to save one. They said, what kind of sandwich would you probably make? Never met any of them. All right, folks, I'm gonna show you 3 different dishes today. First off, this is a seafood kind of an afternoon. I love it when the weather's nice. The catch is incredible all around the world right now. Seafood is in perfect shape. So when it's fresh, we're making good seafood. Today I'm gonna make a pancetta and fresh clams dip. It's a great one to do for your football parties. Then we're gonna come over here and make a little tuna tartare. If you don't like ahi tuna, I don't know what to tell you. It's one of my favorites in the world. Don't worry, we got samples for everybody too. Then we're also gonna do a little bit of redfish with some of our Bay Blend seasoning. We're gonna do that with some blistered cherry tomatoes and a little bit of Scotch bonnet chilies. If you've ever used Scotch bonnets or habaneros, you know that one's gonna bring the heat, all right? Let's start with some clams with pancetta. Nice little dip here. All right, pancetta is a type of bacon. Similar to just your regular bacon, but it's got a much more intense cure on it, a lot more flavors. It's kind of the difference between ham and prosciutto, bacon and pancetta. So all I've done, I've started rendering a little bit. All we want to do is just dice this up a little bit. You don't need to go crazy with it because we're cooking it down, we're rendering it. Just a pretty nice rough dice. I'll add just a touch more here. I want to start rendering that, and I'll turn my heat up a little bit. We're not trying to get it all the way to crispy brown. I just want to get this rendered, slightly cooked, and while that's going, kind of making some of its own oil, I'm also going to just cut a little bit of shallot. I like cutting with the cleaver sometimes. Feels Texan, you know? The old Tim the Toolman Taylor, feels manly using the cleaver sometimes. A buddy of mine makes these. This is really cool. He makes it out of a file that the guys who do horseshoes, farriers, they use their files and they go through them all the time. He gets the old rasps, the old files, and makes knives out of them in his forge, so you get that cool pattern. Love these guys. That's Richard Baggett Studios. So little bit of shallot, little pancetta. Let's get a little garlic smashed in there too. just a little bit of a rough cut. Once that starts going, I'm gonna start trying to get some clams in here. Now, I don't know where you get your clams. I like to get them right out of the ocean. I pull them right out of the shell here. There's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of ways to get clams. Central Market will sell freshly chopped clams. It's a beautiful thing. You want to buy these, you can. Not my favorite. Add a little bit of white wine in here. Clams in a can just somehow doesn't seem right at all. Seafood, can, not for me. We'll keep grabbing these guys out of here. I got some little necks today because you guys are show loyalists. Very few people will come all 3 days. You get the good stuff on Friday for sure. Not that we're going to downgrade the rest of the weekend, but if we're doing fresh clams, let's reward the Friday crowd, the real loyal folks out there. There we go. You guys know how to shuck clams? You want me to show you how? Most everybody's done the oyster trick, right? Where you pretty much get a crowbar and you pry it in there. Clams are a little different. When you got a clam, the clam knife has one sharp edge. It's not really sharp. I'm not going to hurt myself, but one dull and one sharp. You got to find the little seam right between the shell, get that edge in there, and then just, there you go. Pretty simple. As long as you can get the sharp edge in that seam, you got it. See that little edge? They open up a whole lot easier. Doesn't take quite the torque and the muscle. You don't need all that leverage like you do on those oysters. This one's already volunteered for me. Gotta like that. And if they got a little bit of that extra juice, you know, that nice clam juice with a little seawater to it, even better. Clams, pancetta, garlic, shallots. We're getting close here. Little bit of Worcestershire, which I absolutely love. I've got some dried thyme. You can use fresh. My garden is not growing any thyme right now, so I didn't bring it. Little smoked paprika. You can use the hot or the sweet. We're at ZestFest. Which one do you think we got today? I like the way you say that. Ha! Now we're talking. A little bit of lemon. Get a nice little acidity in there. Also give this one a little bit of our Bay Blend. Bay Blend is what we use on all of our seafood, pretty much everything we do. I designed this kind of to be like an Old Bay type seasoning, but I like Old Bay. It's just not Texas enough. We think of it as Old Bay on steroids. A lot more spice to it, a lot more kick, a little more complexity. It's what we put on all of our fish, whether it's hitting the grill, whether we're baking, broiling, roasting. Great flavors, a lot of complexity, little bit of heat, but it's not going to hurt you. Then we're going to add a little bit of cream cheese and a little bit of Boursin cheese. Boursin is a beautiful cheese that melts really well. It's very soft, and it's got a lot of kind of herbs already in there, a little garlic and herb. There's several different flavors of it, but all we want to do is let every bit of this kind of melt in, come up together. You don't want to boil it. We're not trying to hit this really hard. If you wanted to make this a day ahead, do everything but the cheese, put it in the refrigerator. Day of, bring it up, warm it up, melt this in, and as soon as it's melted down, you are ready. Don't boil it. Don't leave it in the oven for 2 hours. Don't overdo it. Those clams just want to cook a little bit. Once the pancetta's rendered, it's ready. As soon as this melts, we are where we want to be. Getting close. I'm looking at the number of people in the audience, and I'm looking at the number of samples I brought, and I hope that you came hungry. There are rewards to the Friday crowd, right? Anybody hurt you yet? You been to the executioner station? You let Jon put something on you? I'm going to give you my one tip that I give every year for ZestFest, especially if it's your first time. Most of you, it's not. If it is your first time and you're wondering what should I sample and what should I be nervous about, when they ask you to sign a waiver before they'll let you try it, think again. Have a beverage ready. Be close to the restroom. You know, all those good, simple warnings you can have. Make sure you get a nice cold Dos Equis in one hand if you're going to try the Reaper in the other. All right. Once this has softened up, the cream cheese and the Boursin have smoothed out, your clam dip is ready. We have a nickname for this one. Anybody remember that show called The Restaurant? It was a reality show with Rocco DiSpirito opening a restaurant. It's one of those reality shows where they really opened a restaurant in a shorter amount of time than you should, and everything was going wrong at the same time. And all night he kept screaming at the kitchen, "Where the heck are my clams?" So we call this "Where the bleep are my clams" dip. The wait staff used to all come to my house, and we watched that one on Sunday nights religiously when we first opened. It was one of our favorites because it kind of showed the real behind-the-scenes stuff that you don't usually get on the Food Network. Food Network is all rosy and bam and 50 cloves of garlic, and it's all perfect. The behind the scenes is not quite as glamorous all the time. Anyway, this is one I love to do. I'm going to throw a little bit of cilantro on there just to garnish it up a little bit, make it look nice. I like to serve this with some crackers. That's what we've got for you guys today. A nice warm clam and pancetta dip, just a little touch of heat, a lot of complexity, enough acidity to make it interesting, to make it fun. We've got some crackers to go with that for you. I hope y'all enjoy that one. Oh, thank you, thank you. Don't be afraid. All right, tuna tartare. Does everybody know what tartare means? Tartare means we're not cooking it. It means we will not use any of the heat over here, just the cold side. This is some of my favorite stuff to do. I love raw stuff like carpaccio and tartare, ceviches. Now we're talking. It's good stuff. I call it cooking through chemistry rather than physics. We're going to use a little bit of acidity here. If I can find where my lime's, there it is. A little bit of lime, and I'm going to use a little bit of that lemon too. We use acidity to kind of give it just a little bit of a chemical burn, but this is a cold dish. It never sees the heat. When you're cooking cold stuff like that, you're cooking raw stuff, proteins, you got to have the freshest. Don't pull out a piece of frozen tuna. Don't let me catch you, using artificial stuff. When tuna's perfect and it's beautiful, it's got that purple color to it, that's when you celebrate it and do a nice tartare or carpaccio. Otherwise, it's not worth your time. All right, I'm going to do just a little bit of cucumber here diced. Show you the fast way to do it. I don't like to peel them. I think the peel's got a nice little bitter flavor to it. Depends on what I'm doing, but a lot of times I leave the peel in. This one's going to have a nice crunch to it, a little bit of flavor. That's how you dice yours, right? Woo! So we got a nice little bit of cucumber. This gives you a nice little texture. I'm also going to add a little bit of diced radish. You want to talk about a really nice texture and just that little bit of pepperiness. You can peel them if you want. You don't have to. The peel's got a little more intensity. It's kind of got a little bit of that pepper, sort of almost horseradish-like bite to it. I think that's a lot of fun. When you're making tartare, tuna is a wonderful flavor, but it's pretty simple and straightforward. We like to get really complex with it. Spice is great, acidity is great, complexity, all these great things. Cucumber, we got radish. I'm gonna dice just a little bit of tomato in there also. We're using Romas right now. Tomatoes are not in perfect season, but Romas, you can count on them most of the year to have a nice firm one that you can dice. Who's talking over here? So a little bit of tomato. Then we're going to add in a little bit of capers. Now's when you get that real kind of briny one. I love it. A little salt. We're not going to need much after that. Got a little shallot as well. You like shallots? Okay, let's go this way. I'm trying to decide how I want to dice it. There's a lot of different ways to do it. We'll go this way. For this one, when I'm talking about raw onion, I want to really mince it so you don't get that one tooth of real hot onion. I want to mince it real small. Love the flavor, but an entire chunk can be a lot to take in one bite. So just a little bit there. Got a little bit of hot sauce. We're using Crystal hot sauce today, one of my favorite Louisiana hot sauce type deals. A little bit of smoked paprika again. It's one of my favorite ingredients. Got some Dijon mustard. Here we go. Now, let's get that tuna. This is going to be a pretty good sized dice on this guy. Tell you what, I'm going to go this way with it. You need a good sharp knife for this one. I'm going to go with about half of this. Kind of eyeball it. So what we've got in here so far is everything except the acidity and a little more seasoning, and then the tuna. So here's what happens with tartare. As soon as the tuna hits all of this acidity, it starts to cook a little bit. Again, it's one of those things that if you wanted to do ahead of time, you get all the way to this point, and this can hold overnight in the fridge, no problem, but not with the tuna in it. You leave it in there, it keeps on cooking, and instead of having this beautiful purple tuna, you got nothing but gray. It gets literally overcooked. It gets dry. It gets kind of a weird texture to it. You need to do it, and at the last minute, mix it and serve it. So what I brought for you guys today, a little bigger portion, of course, I brought a whole bunch of diced tuna on ice, and I brought the mixture. Right before you guys sample, they're going to mix them together and send it out. That's kind of the way we do it. Do you like that idea? As long as we got enough. That's the key. Volume is key, right? That's coming from the guy with a microphone. Volume is what it's all about. All right, there's my lemon. I'm going to do just a little bit of lime in that one too. It's up to you. Depends on what you like. Depends on what you got. Okay, everything's going to get mixed together here. Again, the tartare is all here. Then we add our tuna in there. Once that mixture comes in contact, the clock is ticking, baby. So this is something you want to serve within 5 to 10 minutes. You'll notice the color on the outside edges will even start to turn within a minute or two. No big deal. That is the kind of thing we're looking for. I'm going to season it just a touch. I don't need a lot of salt, just a little bit. I'm going to give it a touch of our bay complexity here. The reason I don't need a lot of salt is that I added hot sauce. Very salty, and I added capers, even more salty. You got to kind of be careful you don't overdo it when you got, and Dijon mustard has salt too, that's right. Several things that are already putting a little bit of salinity in there. You don't need much. And then you always want to be nice and sanitary and taste with a tasting spoon. My favorite utensils I've got. Oh, I think you're going to like this one. Then, if you want to get fancy, make a really cool presentation. Take this little ring mold, put it on a plate. Can y'all see what I'm doing? Are we on the right camera? I get this little ring mold. This is not hard to do, just a fun little deal. We fill it almost to the top. Now, pack it in there a little bit. Nice and dense. Get off of there. I'll take a little bit of avocado. If you don't like avocados, I don't know if we can be friends. I ate guac just this morning, just like every morning. I'm addicted. These things got a hold of me. All right, I'm going to dice this just a little bit. I like to dice them in the skin, kind of makes it easy, you know? Take that out, just get a little bit of it. And we'll do a nice little layer of diced avocado right on top of that. Kind of fun, huh? Then I'm going to use my favorite two utensils, and we just kind of pack that down in there. Get a nice green layer on top. We've got the tuna on the bottom, the green on top. You slide that mold off. You know what, I'm gonna give that one little squeeze of lime, since avocado really does well with a touch of lime and a pinch of salt, and I'm gonna eat this one later. It's gotta be just right. And we slide that mold up real easy, and you get that nice cool shape. A few little sprigs of cilantro to finish it off, and this is one of my favorite things right here. I could sit down in front of the TV and watch an entire football game and eat about half a tuna. There we go. There's a fancy little dinner party appetizer for you if you like. Or just eat it straight out of the bowl with a bag of chips. Whatever you want to do. Depends on who's coming over. You know your guest. And then we're going to switch back over here, and I'm going to show you some redfish. Let me get my tray out of here. How did that get back up here? I'll show you a little redfish, and we're going to do a little Scotch bonnet sauce with that one. Get out of here. All right. There it is. Everything I need right here. All right, we got a nice, beautiful fillet of redfish. I love cooking with redfish because it's a Texas product. We got anybody Texas proud out there? I heard it. We use Copper Shoals Redfish Farm. They are down near Galveston, and it is absolutely one of the finest products that we get. They harvest to order. When you call them, they say, how much you need? 30 pounds, great. They go out, pull it, chill it in an ice slurry, and ship it. I can get all the redfish I want any day of the year. I can get as much as I need any day of the year, fresh, beautiful. Most of the time, I'm gonna tell you, don't buy aquacultured fish. Here's my rule on whether or not you can buy something from a fish farm, and it's a very simple one. If you wouldn't drink the water from the tap in the country that the fish farm's in, don't buy it. If your shrimp is real cheap, but it's coming from Bangladesh, it's probably not the one you want to be serving your guests, right? Galveston, I'll stay at the Howard Johnson's, turn the tap on and drink the water. Their fish is great. This is one of those aqua farms that I truly believe in. There are some very good aquaculture places out there. When it comes to fresh seafood, that's where you need to be spending some money. All right, when I say Bay Blend, I'm not talking about just a little bit of seasoning. We hit it, and we hit it hard. I like to season both sides because we're going to eat both sides. Not just a little tiny sprinkle. We like to season. I want my food fully flavored. We give that redfish a nice, healthy dusting of our Waters Bay Blend seasoning. So I've got all the seasonings. If you want to try any of them, at my booth right back here, you can come up and taste any one of them. We've got all 4 flavors here for you today. Then I've got a pan that I'm getting nice and hot. I'm going to add just a little touch of oil to this. Doesn't have to be too much. It's not totally flat, so it's all running downhill, but that's all right. We'll keep moving it around. And then I'm going to get this a nice little sear. You hear that? When you're cooking fish, when you're sauteing, you put the oil in first, and when your product goes in there, when your protein hits, you want to hear it go kss. If it's not doing anything, if you're not seeing any bubbling, nothing's happening. Your pan's not hot enough. We start with a hot pan, then you add a little oil or a little butter, whatever you're using, and then your protein goes right in there. We like to make sure that it's fully seasoned and it's got a nice flavor to it already. Then when we cook it, we want to make sure we don't overcook it. All right. For a sauce, I'm going to let this cook for a while. Normally what I would do with this dish, my standard with this dish would be to cook the fish, and then when the fish is done, I'd put it on a plate and I'd make a sauce in the same pan. If you make it in the same pan, you get all the flavors off of there, but I think the line for samples is opening up. People are getting antsy, so we're going to go ahead and make this dish and finish it up in a hurry. So I'm going to make the sauce in another pan. It's very simple, very basic. I got a little bit of garlic. There's my Scotch. You notice I put a glove on. This is not the Michael Jackson kind of day. This is I don't want to burn my hand on the Scotch bonnet pepper day. Got a little shallot. I think we'll go this way. We'll do some rings on it this time. Why not? A little bit of shallot for the sauce. A little bit of garlic. Little shallot, little garlic, and then, oh baby, I got tomatoes. If you don't know what these are, you're in the wrong show. Habanero, Scotch bonnets, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. Used to be what they would say is, you know, the hottest pepper out there. Then all these other guys came around. The ghost pepper showed up one year making a new run at the hottest pepper. Now we got the Carolina Reaper. I can promise you this is not anything to joke around with. It's not something to play with. This is a varsity level pepper if there ever was one. They are very intense. They got a lot of heat, but I love the flavor. So use them, but be careful. Don't go hurting people just for the fun of it. I like to get just a little dice on this. I'm gonna leave the seeds in there. That's enough for my one portion. I'm gonna have a good time with that one. I gotta flip this and I don't have a spatula. All right, heads up. Who wants to be in the front row like SeaWorld? We're gonna splash a little, there we go. I splash anybody? We okay? All right, let me get this little bit of oil in this one. I'm gonna toss those cherry tomatoes in. Oh, there we go. I wanna blister the outside of those guys. And while those are blistering, I'm gonna put in those shallots. Let them start cooking too. That's how we do it right there. Really like to blister the outside. You get a nice roasty caramelization on the skins of the tomatoes. It's a beautiful thing. Once they start to cook, once those shallots are about there, I'm gonna add in the garlic. We're gonna add in the Scotch bonnet. Love these guys. Don't forget your salt and pepper ever. At a minimum, we season everything with salt and pepper. A minimum. We love spicy blends. I love complex blends. We do that all the time. But if you're not starting with salt and pepper, you're in the wrong festival. That's Bland Fest. They do that over there in Arlington. This is ZestFest, baby. We season everything. We season it well. Once those have all started, woo! When you're cooking those peppers and there's no fan or hood above you, hello, Texas, there we go. Once those have all started to wilt down in that oil a little bit, then we start adding in our butter. And when we do it, all you want to do is swirl it, and swirl it until the butter's incorporated, and then it is done. My fish is done over here. Make sure that you're close. Sauce doesn't want to wait for anything. When sauce is ready, it is sauce time. You can't say, I'll just make the sauce and we'll save it. Doesn't happen that way. What I made was everything except the butter and brought it here. We swirled in the butter right before we started the sampling. As soon as it's all frothy and incorporated, that's where we're going. Grab that fish out of here. I don't recommend grabbing it with your bare hands, but if you work in the industry, you get this asbestos kind of coating on it. You can make it work. The last second, I'm gonna squeeze a little lime juice in there too, because I definitely want some acidity in this. If you do it too early, it kind of reduces, it gets a strange flavor. When we do fresh citrus juice, it's usually something you add right at the last second. I'm gonna put that baby right on top. Let that bathe all around our red fish. We've got that sauce with the peppers. Where's my spatula? There it is. With all the peppers, shallots, all that goodness right on top. Let it bathe in there, a nice little bit of butter. And that's our show today. We've got clam and pancetta, ahi tuna tartare, and redfish with blistered tomatoes and habaneros. I hope y'all enjoy the show. Don't let anybody hurt you too bad. I'll be down here at the sampling station for a minute. If you need cookbooks or you need spice blends, I'm signing in the booth right back here. I'd love to see you. Take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, too.
Chef Jon Bonnell, everybody. You can eat just like that at Bonnell's Fine Texas Cuisine and at Waters. Something tells me you can't get those dishes at Burger Brothers. I'm not sure. I'll check with the head chef. But Chef Jon Bonnell is fantastic. And again, our friends at Irving Cares, if you can help out our good friends at Irving Cares with food banks and job training.
I'm going to wash hands.
Irving Cares is a hand up, not a hand out.